Cruising down the highway, windows down low. Sunset paints the sky in a fiery glow. Mountains rise up, touching clouds above. Valleys below, filled with whispers of love. On this road, every seed's a delight. From sunrise to starlight, day to night. Nature's canvas unfolding so grand.
I love it.
All right, thank you, sir.
Car control.
I appreciate that. That is my fastest lap ever here.
Good. I've got my fat ass in here. Just wait till
This is all footage from a Driver's Edge event that I did at MSR Houston. It was a weekend event, so Saturday and Sunday. They've got 4 different run groups, green, blue, yellow, and red in ascending order, trying to group everyone together by skill. This is my first event with Driver's Edge, so I actually had to convince them not to put me in green. And I was talking with the guy who runs the Driver's Edge program, and he was telling me, every guy thinks he's faster than he is, so we're pretty hesitant with people that we don't know to put them any higher than green. And really experienced drivers don't always like sim racers because sim racers often come in with a bit of overconfidence, which isn't a minor concern. I mean, it can be really hazardous to be overconfident in your abilities on the track. And that's a valid complaint. You've got a lot of experience, but the seat time just counts a little bit differently. But one thing that no one can argue against is that sim racers tend to know theory really well. So that did convince them to put me in blue, and I did get promoted to yellow at the end of this event. Now this M4 in front of me is quite indicative of a lot of what I experienced throughout the course of the weekend. People in much faster, more expensive cars who really did not want to let the 200 horsepower Toyota pass them. I'm hoping that as I move to the higher classes, that will be less of an issue because the people in the faster cars will just be faster. I briefly toyed with the idea of making a compilation video of me passing all these faster cars, but I realized I'm here to learn, they're here to learn. That wouldn't really help anyone. So I'd rather just get into what I made the video for, which is how to get faster. Previously, my best time was a 203.1 in a rented spec Miata during the competition course here. So you just saw that I put down a 201, and we'll see where we go as each new personal best is set from here.
Straighten the wheel momentarily.
Yeah, try to take it wider?
Yeah.
So let's take a look at my last lap of the first session, and you'll see I comment on things as we go.
Letter B, capital B.
Always late on 21.
This is really helpful even if you're not recording because it puts a real marker in your mind for what you should be doing differently.
Nice.
We're rotating.
Yeah.
And on the gas.
Awesome. This is the best of all worlds.
Quick note, ignore the throttle readout on this run. I didn't have the OBD2 sensor working. So you hear him say best of both worlds, and that's because I carried decent speed into the entry and also still hit my apex. So my goal is going to be to improve on that by carrying a little bit more speed into entry and getting to the gas earlier.
It's bang, 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 but you're doing great, Joe. I love it.
Thank you.
You might also notice that I didn't put the car in track mode for this run. This is the only run where I didn't. I'd prefer to run in track mode with traction control completely off. It just gives you a little bit more control over the car. So all my subsequent runs, I did exactly that. Now this corner coming up is a really important one for my improvement.
I'll turn it up. There you go. Turn it a little early.
My instructor mentions that I turned in a little too early there, and he's absolutely correct. I have a habit of cheating my way over, so I start turning in, and I end up in the middle of the track where I should be at the beginning of turn-in. So I'm only cheating myself by trying to turn in early. I should be waiting until the actual turn-in point and then turning in a little bit more aggressively. Smoothly, but aggressively. So remember that point back there because my minimum speed at the right-hander was 43 miles an hour and at the left-hander was 45 miles an hour. So I want to get those minimum speeds higher if I want my times through that section to improve. And here you'll see me get a little greedy. I apex early, which sends me wide and makes me late back on the throttle. And obviously that wall makes this a turn where you really don't want to go wide. But a 58.9 is a new personal best. All right, now we've got the throttle readout working. The delta that you see in the bottom right is going to be against the session best time. So the plus or minus is going to be against that 2:01 that you see. But I'm tracking, of course, only against personal best. So nothing particularly special about the entrance to the carousel. It was actually pretty slow. As you see, I'm behind even that 2:01 time that the delta is comparing to. So if this is going to be a personal best lap, it'll be interesting to see where we're making up that time. And it looks like much later braking is acceptable into Diamond's Edge, and getting on the gas a lot earlier improves my speed coming out. So my exit speed is higher, and I'm going to be gaining time through this whole huge back straightaway. Now this back section takes a ton of commitment because theoretically you should barely have to tap the brakes. And so you see I'm getting a little more brave carrying my speed through, and I'm gaining a lot of time. Look at my minimum speed, still hitting 43 and 45 in those two consecutive corners, but it was decent. It was decent. Not cheating myself so much, and my entry into the keyhole is now a little bit faster. Average speed to the keyhole will probably stay about the same. But I'm just being a bit more aggressive and earlier to full throttle, just with the comfort that I've been gaining in controlling the car. This right-hander is gut check, really difficult to take flat, even though you should, but I am learning at least that I can be much later to the brakes for these last two turns, 16 and 17, and I'm a little bit later to the apex on this final turn, which gets me earlier to the throttle, which gets me to a new personal best, 158.1. I do intend to have a braking gauge as well in the future, but I couldn't get my CAN bus adapter to work with my current OBD2 dongle, so that's going to have to wait a little bit. Now this is my first time entering the carousel at a noticeably higher speed. I think my min speed through there was about 73 miles an hour, which would be a pretty noticeable improvement on the previous runs. And you see that my delta is already 0.3 faster, which is pretty significant in the first 30 seconds of a lap. So it tells me there's a lot of room for improvement still in my time. I'm a little early to the brakes here, which is no good, but it does get me earlier to the throttle on exit, which gets me a huge advantage coming out of Diamond's Edge. Now I'm 0.7 ahead, only 45 seconds into the lap. Going down this back straight is just a mental preparation game. How late am I willing to tap the brakes? And I want to hang out outside until I cut over to the left. Here I found myself stuck basically in the middle of the track, but I was able to recover pretty well. Now we entered the bus stop with a 0.97 delta and we're leaving with 0.93, so obviously it's not the fastest way through there, but considering how bad the entry was, it's acceptable. That section, however, not acceptable. We already lost 0.2 of a second just going through those two turns. So clearly there's a lot of room to make up time there. Coming back up to gut check, this is just an exercise in how long can you keep your foot planted. That is the goal here. So I'm carrying a little bit more speed than I normally would, and I've got a good braking point as well, which looks like it's giving me a great advantage. That's an early apex there though, so my exit's gonna be a little bit slow, but I'm not losing too much time on that, so it ends up being okay and a new PB. No idea why I wave at all the corner workers like a spaz, but if you do that too, let me know. So here we are on our second day. I've been cleared to run solo at this point. So in a car that only weighs 2,800 pounds, we should definitely notice a difference when we remove the passenger. I get to the throttle really early on this apex, and it makes it so I have to come off a little bit because I feel myself going wide, but I'm able to get back on, and my exit was actually pretty good. So now I've narrowed in on what's late and what's early, and ideally I should be able to get it just right next time around. Now the delta's not showing on this one because it's the first lap of the session. But I have other tools like the G meter in the bottom left. I can check my min speed in each corner. I can see what time I'm reaching each corner or each different section of the track. And all of this gives me good information to evaluate how well I'm doing on this particular lap without having the delta automatically provided. Let's see, what's my min speed? 46 going into the bus stop and 46 on the second turn of the bus stop. So it was 43 and 45 earlier. I told you we were going to pay attention to that one. So that's a fantastic change. Here in the keyhole, we didn't drop below 48. So our average speed through the keyhole is definitely a little bit higher as well. Full throttle pretty early on the launch. So everything is looking pretty ideal, and we're just putting things together at this point. I still don't quite have the guts for gut check, but I'm hoping that comes with time and comfort and honestly some tires that aren't stock. Right now I'm running the vehicle 100% stock. So any times you see being put down is with the vehicle exactly as it comes off the showroom floor, with a couple cosmetic exceptions. And now we do have a time delta. So you can see the entrance into the carousel is just blazing fast. Everything is feeling good. Tires are warmed up. And we are absolutely cooking all previous times, which is kind of crazy to me because never in my wildest dreams did I expect to be this far into the 150s. But I'm getting more comfortable with the car. I'm later to the brakes and earlier to the throttle. And as you can see right there, a lot more on the traction limit. Now what's interesting is here I make a massive mistake and I miss my shift into fourth gear. And so you'll see that delta go from minus 1.3 all the way down to minus 0.9. So I lost 0.4 of a second just in that section right here. I'm pretty distracted, so now I've lost another 1/10. And it's just going to be a battle from here, trying to come back and lose as little time as possible. Now, again, I really was not ever expecting to make it this deep into the 150s. My previous best time, as I've mentioned, was a 2:03 in a spec Miata. And that's on racing slicks. It's not quite as fast in a straight line as the GR86, but they have a similar power to weight ratio. So chassis are similar. It shouldn't be that much different. So my goal for this weekend was to get sub 2. So at this point, I'm wondering how far I should be pushing it in my daily driver. Now look, I know there's still a lot of time left on the table. I probably lost half a second due to that missed shift coming out of Diamond's Edge. So there's definitely still a lot more there to be gotten. But during this event, I was happy with what I got, which was a 155.5. And I don't really want to push my luck. And here I'm going to be showing just a little quick look at some of the more interesting cars on track, like this S2000. We had some nice battles, really good driver, and it was an awesome car. We got a nice Supra here. I mean, as soon as he passed me, I basically never saw him again. He was lightning fast. We got this nice Porsche 911 of some sort or other. Now, there were several C8s in the Blue Run group, but I don't really have much video of them, maybe because they were all just so much faster than me. But I had to represent the American muscle somehow, so here is the Mustang GT. The absolute nicest one on the track. Huge props to this guy in a Ferrari Roma. So that'll do it for this one. I wish you happy and healthy racing. Keep the rubber on the road, and I'll see you next time.